Alright, let's see if I can get one of these sweet, sweet different endings. Oh, grab that. There you go. Ugh. Gosh, man.
Best night ever. Guess who made dessert? Let me know when you're in the mood.
Yeah, I will.
So, supposedly, we'll see. I'm definitely looking at a guide. I'm not just picking these up.
With just my hands.
Not that smart. Watch. Okay, so now I have to look at the watch. So let's see. And then I start to disappear. Yep, that checks out. Oh, okay. I don't even know if this is gonna work, but we'll try it. And there I am, gone.
Hey, there he is. You're back.
Gosh, I'm so confused as to why the dad is also Willem Dafoe. Like, is that just because they wanted to keep actors down? Or is that because it's like, this means something, you know?
Look, this isn't how I wanted to tell you. You deserve both.
So let's see, I have to wait. Supposedly I have to drag this conversation out for this clock to run out.
Worst thing in the world.
To 12? Let's see.
Disappointed my little girl. Well,
yeah.
That was the worst thing. And now a baby. You, with your little love. I guess it was always gonna happen. Nothing stays swallowed down forever. So, you gotta make a call. If I could go back, well, things would be different.
This is such a weird conversation. Like,
you can't just.
Is this a real conversation or is this like a dream?
That's not how life works.
Because like, when would this happen?
You gotta make the choice, and you gotta make it now. Say something. Say something.
Say something.
Fine. You're gonna force my hand. Fine.
Hey, it's only by forgetting that we ever really dropped the thread of time and approached the experience of living in the present moment.
Did I biff that?
You read that one, I know the idea of forgetting things sounds crazy, but what if you could? I can help with that if you want. All you have is the future. You'll forget everything you went through. All the pain, all the stress, forgotten. Forever.
Click on the clock.
But you need to understand.
And stare at it.
No turning back. You can't undo this.
Oh my god, okay.
Talk about her still.
What?
You do have a remarkable imagination. The stories you've created. But believing them so strongly, so deeply is unhealthy. You have to let her go. You can't keep obsessing over her. Sometimes things just are what they are.
Yeah, whoa.
It's time for you to wake up.
What? Ah! Oh, that's creepy. My imagination. So, like, what does that mean though? Like, like these conversations with the father are imaginary, or the fact that, like, am I actually not in a relationship with her, but I have somehow created that in my mind and I believe it to be true? Is that what that means? Oh god. And then, like, somewhere in this, like, fabricated reality of being with this woman, I realize that it's wrong, and that's why it starts to break apart, like, after something so crazy? Like, that's possible. Is that, like, a weird interpretation of this story? Ooh. Ooh. Damn. I did not think a couple of lines could change how I feel about this story so much, but gosh, what a thing. That's a good ending. way to Shutter Island the hell out of that for me. And if you haven't seen Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio, go watch Shutter Island. It's a crazy movie if you don't know the twist. It's very crazy. I love the weird, like, sounds that they add to the, like, this is a weird music. A weird music? That doesn't make English. That doesn't even make English. I don't English today, apparently. Ooh. Quit. That just ended the game! Oh! What? Oh my god. Oh my god. What? Is this just how it ends? Oh my god, you can't continue from this point. That's the whole game. Oh my god, there are endings you can get like in the middle of the game that I just didn't get. Ooh. Ooh. That's wild. That's crazy. Can I like restart the game? Hold on. What if I say yes? Okay, so I hit play. Press any key to continue. That's the end of the game. They're like, no, you cannot keep going back. That is the fucking real way to do it. Holy shit. Oh my god! That's amazing! Okay, gosh, this is gonna be such an annoying, like, little addendum to the end of these videos, but, like, holy shit. The end of the game. Let's go over this really quick. I'm just gonna, like, review. Get ready for my PowerPoint presentation. No. But, like, just give me 1 second. I can't even, like, explain. I cannot describe. I'm blasting myself. Like, my hair looks bad. Trying to make it look less bad. I'll put myself in the corner. Ha ha ha. So let's like think about this. And my hair looks bad. I was not planning on recording with a camera, but I'm going to because I'm crazy. So let's get this back up. Holy shit. Okay. So this is annoying and I'm just gonna like talk forever. I feel like I've already talked about this game too much. But anyway, like, let's just go over the events of this story really quick, because that's the craziest thing. So, you start with, you go home, you're missing your keys, you find your keys, you go inside, your wife's like, hey, what's up? And, you know, she just figured out she's pregnant, she wants to surprise you, it's all happiness, and then all of a sudden a guy breaks in and is asking for this watch, and he's like, bam, killed you, dead. right? And then, so that's how this game is for most of it. And then you're trying to figure out, like, he's saying your wife did all this crazy stuff. Where is this watch? Who is this guy? Who is your wife? Is she a murderer? And we go through those in the form of time loops, right? Which is weird. A, because we know time loops aren't like a real thing. But like, time loops, okay? So we die, we come back, loop again, figure something out, loop it up. That was the whole game. And then we find out this really crazy story that just gets more elaborate as we figure more out. So first of all, first thing we figure out is that our wife did kill someone. Like, our wife killed her dad, right? That's what she thought. And this guy is like, yeah, she killed her dad, and that guy was really close to the dad, and that's why he's mad, because he wanted the watch, because his daughter is dying of cancer. And then we find out, oh, she couldn't possibly have killed her dad because he was killed by a different person like a week later, right? On New Year's Eve, and she wasn't in town. So then we're like, but who was the real murderer? We find out that the real murderer was the dad's love child with the nanny, right? And so, like, he does that, and then it's like, well, who is this mysterious love child? And like, where is he? And like, what is he doing? And then, through a ridiculous series of events, you find out that the name on the baby's whatever onesie, Dahlia, is actually your mother's name, which was actually the name of the maid, which means you're the love child. Like, so you, the player character, and the wife are brother and sister, and so your baby is like a monster or whatever happens when incestuous babies are born. I don't know. So that's like the series of events, and then you go into the thing. Once you realize this, once the character realizes this, you go back into a loop, regular time, and you can look at the watch, and you can, well, here's the thing, you could actually try to tell your wife and say like, by the way, we're brother and sister, and she'll get pissed at you, or you could like lie, right? But anyway, you go back to the watch and you look at it, right? You look at the watch and you fade out of existence. And then you, like, go. So then here's the part that I was getting confused about, right? I was getting hung up on this. So then you're in a scene where you are yourself from the past, right? But you're with the father character. But the father is the same man as the guy who's been breaking in and ruining the day. They're the same. And like, what was the first one? So the first time I was in that scene, I got this whole like, oh, because the father's telling you like, you can't do this, she's your sister, that's messed up, and you're like, yeah, I feel bad, I know, because like, us as the player, we know that if we like continue this relationship, we get our sister pregnant, which is weird. And I guess I'm being very judgy. I do consider incest like a little weird. Mostly in this case because it's like non-consensual incest. It's kind of like dubious consent incest because the brother knows but the sister doesn't, which is, it's shady. I'm just gonna say. I mean, I'm a very judgy person, but so if you're offended by me saying incest is weird, I do think it's weird, but I also think in this context, it's especially weird. But anyway, so you know as the player that you are gonna knock your sister up, and so you can say you have the choice because it's all like, oh, I wish don't you wish you could go back? Don't you wish you didn't have to do this? And you could say, no, I'm not gonna pursue her. We're done. That's the end. Which leads you to this continued like scene where, again, opens up like in the beginning of the game, except you're in a different apartment that looks very similar, and you're not with your wife, you're by yourself, and there's no furniture, right? And then you find the watch and you can go back to the first timeline where you are with your wife that we like understand. But then we go into the like, this is the part that I literally just did. But then we go back into the original timeline type of loop, and like again we see our wife, she does the normal thing, hi, how are you doing? We go into the bathroom, you take the watch, we look at it again. So this time, because I followed a guide and I'm not smart, but what happens, we figured out, is that you can, if you don't say anything, you just quiet. And then you're like, hey, you say some nonsense from the meditation book that your wife was reading. She has a quote about being in the present. I don't remember the quote. I wonder if I could look it up.
Hey, it's only by forgetting that we ever really drop the thread of time and approach the experience of living in the present moment.
Just like pretend I like insert the quote on the screen because I don't remember what it was off the top of my head and it's very hard to Google for whatever reason. But it's this quote about like staying in the present and being focused and like mindful, right? And so we say that, and then we don't say anything. We don't say, I'm not going to be with her. We don't say, I am going to be with her. We just don't. We just look at the clock, right? That was the option. You just look at the clock and then wait for it to time out. And then the father character is like, wow, you have quite an imagination, blah, 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 right? Which kind of like, I was literally like 10 minutes ago tripping out of. So like, let's get into some interpretation because I'm crazy and like this is just gonna drive me crazy if I don't talk about it. So like this, so what now, after seeing these three endings, which I think are the three like real endings, there's like small ones you can get that I didn't get at all, and apparently I can't even go back into the game and get, like I have to like probably uninstall and reinstall a game or something. That's crazy. Very cool. Very like final. Very final. So the way I'm interpreting this now is I'm seeing it as like, okay, here's so our guy, the main guy, is, I was kind of posturing this during the credits, but he's imagining all of this. He's obsessed with his sister. But here, so think about this. Let's go back. Let's kind of go into the mind of this guy. He's like a secret love child, and he knows his father, I'm assuming, like he knows who he is, and he knows that his father has a daughter that's like not his sister, probably. He doesn't see her as a sister because they were raised separate. But like that's what he knows. And then he grows really, really obsessed with this girl to woman. I don't know when they meet or when this obsession begins, but he gets really obsessed with her. And then he's like, he's not an adult. Like I don't think he's like at the point, or like he might be an adult in age, but maybe he's not like a fully independent adult figure like person. I think he's actually probably still like living with the father. He's like, and I don't want to insinuate that he has like any sort of learning disabilities or like autism or anything, and that's why he'd be living with the father. I'm just saying that at this point he's not like in his, because I'm considering the main story that we believed to be the fantasy world, and I think in his fantasy he sees himself as a man with a job and a wife who's going to have a child on the way, and I don't think he's at that point. I think that the little one scene that we get of him and the father talking in the library is his real life. And you can tell like the way he's dressed, he's not wearing like business clothes, or like he's wearing like a t-shirt and jeans, and he looks more relaxed, and like, you know what, he's like talking with his father. And like I'm just like I'm interpreting that as like he either does have a job, like he doesn't have that like ideal career job, or he's like staying at home and is unemployed, something like that. I definitely see this guy on that level. And then so that's who he is. He's obsessed with this lady, and he's just like putting his hopes and dreams on into this obsession with her. And like as it grows and grows, this fantasy of what life would be like with her grows stronger as well, which is probably like the whole, I forgot how long they said like we were together for 8 years or 3 years or 4 years or something, however long they've been together. Like is probably in his mind, it could even be how long he's been fantasizing about being married to her. Like, even though it's not true, this is just like this is how long he's had this obsession and maybe how deep it's gone. Or he just can imagine very well, because, you know, brain time is like totally different. So I can imagine potentially an 8-year relationship with someone even in like 10 minutes. That's possible. But I think this obsession is so deep with this person that it could be an 8-year long obsession that in his mind is an 8-year long relationship. So then he's like, oh, so everything in his fantasy world starts falling apart. It starts falling apart when the father character comes in. And the father character comes in and starts having this like debate, like, or not debate, but he starts attacking the wife, right? That's who initially, like, the guy who breaks in, he comes in, he's like, where's your wife? I need all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And the guy almost never goes for the main guy. He's like, no, the wife is the problem, and that's who he's always targeting. And so I'm just like, oh shit, like, is this the actual father character? Is this guy's actual dad saying, stop obsessing with your sister, this is wrong, and how it's manifesting in his fantasy is that the father's like coming in and attacking her, like taking away the thing he loves a lot? Or is he just coming to terms with, like, somewhere in his subconscious he realizes this obsession is getting twisted, it's a little dark, it's not quite right, and the way that manifests is he is seeing his father come in and attack his wife, because that's kind of like what the loop is, right? And the fact that it's looping, it's kind of like he's going, just imagine you've had a very, very long dream, let's just imagine it's a dream, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, it's great, we're having a great dream, and all of a sudden something weird happens, something really bad and weird is happening, and then we're like, no, I don't like this, I don't think dreams work like this. But you can imagine the dream resetting a little bit. It's kind of like if you're trying to, I don't know if you've ever like written creative writing type of thing, and you're like, okay, here's a scene where a guy walks into a room and he gets a cup of coffee and he starts to drink it and he spills it on his shirt, and he goes, nah, I don't like it, I don't like that he spilled it on his shirt, backspace, he walks into the room, and you can kind of like start from the beginning and like rework it until it makes sense to you. Like, that's kind of how trauma response works, so I know that's kind of how brains work, but like, what if that's what the time loops are? The time loops are his subconscious and his, like, I don't know, other parts of brain talk, but like his foreground thinking of like, I want this relationship, and his background going, no, this is bad, arguing with one another. And like the loops are when his subconscious starts to kind of rise up and go, no, but then, this is gonna be wrong. Like, even having it under a time constraint kind of fits that bill, because it's like, you know, every time he'd call the hospital or like the police or something, they'd be like, we can get there in 15 minutes. He's like, I don't have 15 minutes, because like his subconscious brain telling him what's right and wrong is going to catch up to him at that point. And so he's like, no, I can't do this. And that's what the time loops are. This is how I'm interpreting it. Again, I haven't looked up an official interpretation. I'm sure the writers probably have a very clear thought of like what was happening. I'm just going off of the cuff. This is what I think. I wanted to just word vomit all of this out, because if I had more time, I'd probably make an entire video of me like just breaking it down and looking back through the game footage and taking quotes. But like, it's October and I have so much other projects going on that like I can't, and so like maybe I'll do it in the future, but I'm definitely gonna word dump here, so blah 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 blah. But like, isn't that such a crazy story? But it also, doesn't it make such a crazy story more mundane? Because this story was already on the level of a Greek tragedy, like Oedipus level nonsense, where it's like, oh, everyone's related to everyone else and I'm got my sister pregnant and blah 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 blah. That's a crazy story. But if you imagine that this is all in the mind of an obsessed man, like, doesn't that like take something really up here and like make it way more mundane? Isn't that like really cool? Like, even the quote, even the fact that your wife is constantly reading this meditation book, she's always like, oh, this is something you wouldn't be into. If you pursue it more, she'll like tell you this quote that ends up being the quote that wakes you up in the end. Like, because she is your subconscious, maybe? She is your obsession, and she is your obsession telling you that you need to be in the present. Like, this isn't happening right now. You need to wake up. You need to look at the clock and you need to go, oh my God, I'm actually not in this apartment and I'm not with this woman and I'm not getting attacked all the time. Like, that's not happening to me. I need to be in the present. I need to be aware of the situation. And he's like, you know, like the wife character, like, it's hard to tell who she represents. She definitely kind of represents his obsession, right? But like, the meditation thing kind of implies that she's part of the like alarm system in his brain going like, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe you need to wake up. Maybe you need to stop focusing on this. Like, even when she gets freaked out, like wigged out, like, you know, it's just so interesting because like the main character is so passive throughout most of the storytelling. He's so passive, and it's mostly like him telling the wife something and she has a big reaction, and then the man coming in and having a big reaction, but he's always like, hello. Like, even, you know, when I would get it, you know, everyone's being like handcuffed and everything, and the guy, like, your character would just be like, sir, excuse me, like, that could even be implied that he's just like a watcher of the events. He's not in it, he's just watching it. He's the person imagining these things happening and they just happen around him. Like, when you think, if you've ever thought about what a situation would be like, I don't know if it's like this for you, but like for me, sometimes I can think about what other people would do, but it's harder for me to also include what I would do in that situation too. So like, there is a level of, this is kind of how thought processes work. Like, when I, like, if I were to think about like, okay, going into a classroom, I'm going in a classroom and I'm gonna like teach a lab class that I've taught 1,000 times. Okay, so I'm gonna go in the room, and the first couple things I think of are, what are my students gonna be doing? What if they're not sitting down? What if they're doing this? What if the room is wrong? Like, what if there's something I need to fix? How do I fix it? Like, what do I do? I'm not necessarily thinking of like, where am I standing? What am I doing? What am I thinking? What am I saying? I'm literally thinking about the environment. I'm not thinking about myself. And that's kind of how this character is played the whole time. So like, that's wild. What? But yeah, no, this is very cool. I'm also wondering, because in that last little bit there was like a quote, and again, I don't really remember it. It's hard for me to look it up right now, but it's when the father is like lecturing the guy and he's saying like, there was something he said about a baby.
And now a baby. You, with your little love. I guess it was always gonna happen. Nothing stays swallowed down forever.
Like, I think he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did this. Like, you got your sister with a baby, something like that. Like, I'm sure I could find it. I'll just like throw it up. Editing people, myself in the future, editing people, go fix this. No, but like, he says something like that. Which also makes me think that the actual story is that while you have this fantasy of this woman being your wife and being in love with you, what if that's not what happened? What if you are obsessed with her, she is real, you do know who she is, you are living with your father or something, but you do get her pregnant, but it's not like a consensual pregnancy, or it's like not like you were married for a long time and got her pregnant, but like, I don't want to, like, and again, I don't necessarily have a lot of evidence saying that there was sexual violence involved, but like, what if you did get her pregnant, but it was not in the context that you understand it. Like what if he was in a relationship with his sister or something happened, and in reality there was a moment where the sister does come to him and say, hey, I'm pregnant. What if that is a real fact in his life? But the way he interprets it through his like obsession and kind of weirdness is that it was this, I'm coming home to my loving wife and she tells me, like, you know, like a wife would probably tell her husband in a cute kind of loving way, like, oh my God, our family's getting bigger. But what if that's not what was happening? What if she's pissed? What if she's hurt? What if she's like, oh my God, I had this crazy weird thing happen to me. Either this person lied to me and is actually my like related to me, and you know, our Congress has like ended up in a child, or like some violence occurred and that's the response. Like what if she did go like, I'm pregnant, you're sick, and I hate you? Like what if he's interpreting the events strangely? And that's why the father has him in his room going like, don't you wish you could go back? You fucked up. What's wrong with you? Which I think lends that scene a little more credence, because it's like, it puts more, if this hadn't happened, if there is no like, if he was just being creepy from afar, like of course the father would probably be like, yeah, stop it, knock it off. But if there's some like further evidence saying like he was creepy and then acted on it and something bad happened, like she got pregnant or she's hurt, like the father saying more things like, oh my God, like saying more things that are like, you need to, like, don't you wish you can go back? I can't believe there's a baby involved. Like, when it looks like he's in the past, like, that kind of makes more sense. I mean, I also forgot, like, I forgot to mention earlier, I also feel like the father dying in the main story, the fantasy story, kind of, like, lending itself more to the fact that it's a fantasy, because I can imagine if the father's the main person telling him like, hey, don't bang your sister, like, then he would probably dislike the dad, so killing him off in his own fantasy makes more sense. But the fact that he came back as a mysterious man who is concerned about his daughter, who, like, the Willem Dafoe guy is like, oh, I have to do all this for my daughter because my daughter is injured and sick, and that's his, like, fictional daughter. But, like, what if that's just a metaphor, like, for his brain saying, oh my God, this guy I killed off, my dad, like, is also coming in, again, worried about his daughter and all this stuff. Like,
my daughter, she's all I care about. She's dying. Cancer. And the insurance won't. I can't pay for the treatment. You know, the thing I hate the most, worst thing in the world, disappointing my little girl. Well, that was the worst thing.
it just makes a lot of sense. Again, I'm just speculating. This is such a weird story. I wanted to deep dive into it, and this is as much as of a deep dive as I'm gonna get into it. But, like, oh my goodness. What a game. Yeah, this definitely, I might replay this game at some point and try to get the other endings, or I'll just watch a video. Oh, I love people on YouTube who are, like, good and, like, plan their videos and don't just, like, randomly do it. No, I'm just kidding. Watch my stuff. I just randomly do things. Sometimes I plan it. Not often. But I don't like spoilers, so I don't like to look at guides at all. But no, that's a really cool, this is a very cool game. And I may just be totally reading too much into it and interpreting things that aren't there, but even if it's not there and I'm reading too much into it, I love that I can read too much into it. You know, that's like one of the things. I love anything that feels like it's steeped in allegory. And I say feels like it's steeped in allegory because I know there are things that are super random and weird, and some of them are probably just random and weird for the sake of being random and weird. Like if you've ever seen like David Lynch stuff, like Twin Peaks, like there is a level of like metaphor and allegory, but some of the things I think are just random and weird, and like, but it's really fun to look at them and try to like make them into allegory and symbolism, and I love that stuff, and I love talking about that stuff, and this game gives me that. It gives me enough enough weirdness and enough mystique to like really want to like dive into the story and like tear it apart and look for interpretations. And so yeah, I hope you enjoyed that journey with me. It took so long between the last time I posted this last video and then this one. So that's awkward, but you know, it's gonna happen sometimes when you're a grad student and you do the YouTubes. Anyway, yeah. I'm gonna turn my camera off and do more other stuff, but like this is gonna go up at some point. So very exciting. But no, it's cool. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys some other time, internet. Yeah. I guess because this is such a weird end to a gaming video for me, leave a comment and tell me whether you agree. It like, okay, if you're actually watching this, which I think like maybe 2 people will actually watch this, like leave a comment and just be like, yeah, or just say, no, girl, you crazy, because that's fine too. I just genuinely would love to get any level of feedback on like, does what I'm saying make sense or do I sound insane? And if I do sound insane, that's fine. Just like let me know, because like if that's my thing, I need to know it. Okay. I'm gonna stop recording. But yeah, that was cool. It was cool.